arriving at Christie Station.
Hey people, it is Sunday, July the 6th. The time is 3:12 in the afternoon. It is a blisteringly hot 33 degrees Celsius outside, with the humidex more like 39 degrees, and I think it's going to probably make its way up to a 40 degree humidex later on in the afternoon. But I'm currently inside the somewhat cooler Christie subway station, having just gotten off the train here. This is line 2. I rode the subway from Dundas station on line 1, transferred onto line 2 at Bloor Young, and rode west to Christie station, and I'll be emerging back out into the inferno, unfortunately, because I'm going to do a walk heading north up Christie Street from here at Bloor and Christie. And I think I'll take us up to St. Clair Avenue. Christie Street is a mainly residential street, but I think it's worth a video all on its own. Has some stretches of nice old historic residential. And a few small sections of retail. Although I'm not looking forward to being out in this. But there's a look south to Bloor Street. Koreatown begins here at Christie heading east. And there's Christie Pitts Park across the street. There's a look at the station. I'm not sure if there's a shady side even I could walk on. I suppose the other side does look a bit shadier. Maybe I'll try and run across. There's the Christie bus. And the park has lots of shaded areas where you can hang out and not become a victim of those nasty ultraviolet rays. That's sort of my mission for today, being out in this, is to try not to expose my skin if I can help it. So it's a good hike north up to St. Clair Avenue. There's another look down into the park. It's like a big bowl. It's a very popular park and quite large. There's also some baseball diamonds. So both yesterday and today we've been roasting in the city once again. There's a heat warning in effect. She's actually sunbathing down there. Well, I hope she has lots of sunscreen on. Something I certainly do not partake in. I'm still suffering the effects of live streaming during the Pride Parade, where I was out in the sun for hours and got a bit burnt on my shoulders and upper arms. There's a game underway. They're toughing it out in the heat. There's a nice breeze right now. To be honest, this is just a hot summer day. I think things get to be hyped up a bit much, in my opinion, whenever there's temperatures above 30 degrees. Isn't that supposed to be what happens in July? Aren't those normal summer temperatures? I think the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team plays there at that diamond. As I was saying, yeah, it's always gotten hot in the summer as long as I can remember, into the 30s, even in my hometown of North Bay. That was to be expected. Now we use terms like heat dome and things like that. Make everything sound like it's out of the ordinary. Here's Barton Avenue. That being said, I'm not a fan of when the weather gets this hot. Once it goes above 25 Celsius, I start to not enjoy it. Once it goes over 30, it's downright miserable in my opinion. So as it is normal, I'm glad it doesn't persist all summer long, right? We have these spikes. It gets hot for 2 or 3 days. Maybe half a dozen times during the summer. And then the rest of the time we're getting much more tolerable summer temperatures. You can see kind of a mix of building styles here. Have some old historic homes, some small apartment buildings, some attached housing. Seems to be mostly attached housing with the odd detached house. I think Christie Street dates back to the first half of the 19th century. It was named after a woman named Christie McDougall, who was the wife of Peter McDougall, who was a landowner in the area. And obviously Christie Pitts Park was also named after her. There's Fiesta Farms, neighborhood supermarket.
Charlie, we cross the street, okay? Come stay with me.
Get back into the shade. This is definitely the right side of the street to be walking on. There's no shade on the other side. Although she's not sticking only to the shady side if she doesn't need to, I guess is what I'm trying to say with the umbrella. Garnet Avenue. And here's a little stretch of what was retail once upon a time. Looks like it's been converted to residential maybe. Or maybe not. I'm not sure about that building on the corner. These ones look like they're residential now. This looks like a new build here. Or a reno. I'd like to see all these little storefronts full of shops again. I'm sure it would be quite handy to people living in the area. There's some Bay and Gable row houses. Fine artisanal wines and food. You got a laundromat and a snack bar. The side streets look quite cozy here. Kind of narrowish. Lots of charming looking houses. More underutilized retail space here. If you see curtains, then it's most likely an apartment now. Air and Oil at a bike shop here. Christie Variety is no longer. Maybe something else will open up there, although it looks pretty boarded up for the time being. Another laundromat, former laundromat. Crossroad Cafe, that's open. Jehovah's Witness. That one's in rough shape. And its neighbor is even in worse shape. Wow. This looks like a scene out of a blighted city somewhere else. We're approaching Dupont, and another abandoned building on the corner, but this one has something on the way that will bring it back to life. Golden Horseshoe Barbecue coming soon. old bank building, by the looks of it, is now an A&W on this corner. Dupont Street is an interesting stretch as well. I've done a recent video walking along a good chunk of that street. There's stretches of shops and restaurants, as you can see. And wow, I just noticed you can see the top of One Bloor West popping up above the old storefronts. That building is tall enough now that it's literally coming into view from parts of the city that you would not expect to see it. Well, so far this isn't too bad, to be honest, this walk out in the heat. I'm surviving the heat dome.
Love the smell, man.
About making that impact.
Pretty massive building. I'm not sure if it's just a apartment building or a seniors building perhaps. I'm not too sure. One is a long-term care home across the street. It's also quite large. It extends quite a ways away from the street. Christie Gardens. It sounds like a seniors building. Another old building that looks like it was a neighborhood convenience store or something once upon a time, hiding behind the trees. Looks like it's apartments now. Looks like I don't have any shade here. These houses are set too far back from the street and they're not high enough. And there's a pretty steep grade going uphill here. You'll find this uphill slope all across the city. If you go north from Bloor to St. Clair, you'll encounter it. Davenport Road. A bistro on the corner. And Davenport Road is another interesting stretch. Further west, it has a bit more in terms of street fronting storefronts, retail restaurants. Going uphill. She's battling it out on the bike. There's a steep grade here because everything below this was once an ancient lake bed. Basically a supersized version of Lake Ontario called Lake Iroquois. If you go back in time around 12,000 years or so. But eventually the waters receded. And it shrunk down to what is now present-day Lake Ontario. But it left behind its mark. Giving Toronto some of its only hilly areas north of downtown. No exit. It's very lush and inviting in there. Oh, a little moment of shade here. I wonder if it's heading up to Salsa on St. Clair. That's actually where I'm heading. I see it turn before getting to St. Clair Avenue. No doubt it's quite crowded on St. Clair Avenue. I could imagine that some people might not take too well to crowds in oppressive heat. Not my favorite combination, that's for sure. There's a nice breeze.
And they've become their own.
I guess this fire hydrant is not usable. I don't think I've ever seen one wrapped up like that before. Here's the Witchwood Barns across the street. Got the Artscape facility inside. I can hear the salsa on St. Clair. I was debating whether to come out and record this today or not. My plan yesterday to record it didn't work out. And today's the last day. So I thought, if not now, then never. But I guess I am going to record it since I'm basically about to come upon it here. I figured if I was going to head up to Salsa on St. Clair, I wanted to get at least one other video out of the journey, so that's what this video is. But I think I'm going to start to wrap this walk up since I'm literally about to be in the middle of Salsa on St. Clair. So I hope you enjoyed the Heat Dome walk heading north up Christie Street. We started at Christie subway station as I got off the train. Made our way up to street level, out into the humidity. But I had a pretty pleasant walk for the most part, heading north up Christie Street to St. Clair Avenue, staying in the shade much of the time.
Because you know why I asked that? You know why I asked that? This your daughter? Okay, permit me to ask a question. Is that okay? Okay. What's your name? Zari, how you doing? I'm Jonathan.
I haven't seen these guys in a while. They used to hang out at Yonge and Dundas, but I haven't seen them in a long time down there.
I want you to have a good look at it.
So they're still around.
No, I'm not fighting. Who's this?
As I was saying, I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my videos. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal as well as via my merch store. Or you can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by sending a super thanks if you prefer. And you can find me on Instagram also under K Continuum. So thanks for watching, and thanks to all the channel members. And stay cool, and be sure to keep checking back because, as always, I will continue.